Thank you for having me, Colleen. Delighted to be here to celebrate her many years of one of the leading clubs in the country, and many changes have taken place since I've been here. Notably, more so the types of courts we've had, the size of the club. It's more professional now. It's progressed. The ladies got full membership. Uh, Big things happened over the years. The big uh, factor for me was the managers that we had, Mr. Stott, John Walsh, um, David, that's here now, Liam O'Regan. All those people had an interest in the club, and they kept the continuity going, even though the committees changed and people changed and whatever. So that to me helped an awful lot. Also, we had a good background of committee members who were involved in banking and set the club up financially and kept it going when times were tough. Um, Playing wise, we had always good standard, whether it was veterans, whether it was juniors, whether it was senior players. And the involvement of the women as full members made a big difference. We won the Munster Cup in 1980 for the first time, which is hard to believe in a big club like we have. And that was a great achievement that we had. Many achievements we've had over the years. The club has always been great fun, and I'd like to welcome new members, especially, to continue that and enjoy the club for the club's sake. That's what keeps us going. Lots of other clubs in Cork and places envious, and they don't want to say it, but they're envious of the success we've had, whether it's playing or it's success on the development of the club. And I just think we're not doing too much wrong. And it's just a big change 50 years ago from the grass courts, hard courts, onto car. Floodlights made a big difference, obviously. Playing all year round rather than just tennis for 3 months of the year. So it was a great experience for me as a junior coming in at 17. Frightening to think about all those many years ago in short pants, but they were the days, and many good players. I won't mention names, but people like Frank Pokler, Frank Sforney, Alan Houghton, Eamon Smith, Peter Hearn, Colleen Kennefic, Cade Wan, Anne Kenny, Louise Henry, Nuala Crotty, Judith Murphy. I can go on and on. I'll forget people, but they were the backbone of the club when the club started as a nucleus, and we had great fun, and the social side was as good. Trouble is, if you're playing tournaments and you're winning, you're part of the social life as well. It can it can wear you down, but it was great fun, and I was delighted to be part of it. I was delighted to find that it was a great club for me personally, and I got involved in the coaching side with Jim O'Neill, Dr. Jim, from the Mercy Hospital. I used to coach his children on a Wednesday, even though he was well able to do it himself, and he was forward in his thinking of taking teams abroad to Liverpool, West Hanson, Bournemouth. Lots of Sunday players as well as Munster players were involved, and that was way ahead of his time. And it brought fruition later with many good players playing for Ireland, like Ger Keane, number 2 in the country under 14. Many players went on and on and on, and it's good to see. And it doesn't matter in this club whether you're an international player or social player. The structure is now there that it's unbeatable. Also, it's a very safe club with the juniors, especially. They're very safe to be here with the Garda vetting for all the staff, etc., etc. So times have changed. It's got more professional, full-time people running the tennis, and it has to go that way because social tennis, and so people giving up their time, they're not going to do it anymore. I think it's clubs are realizing it, that they have to pay people to do things now, and that's okay. We've been doing it for years. We've had to pay for food and entertainment for teams rather than the nice small cups of tea you get in other little clubs. Not saying that they're wrong or thing, but even those clubs are suffering now because people will be involved when their children are involved and then they're gone.
You were the first professional coach in Sunday's-Well.
There were no professional coaches in Ireland except 3, John Horn, Aidan Bradshaw, and Michael Hickey, when I started. And I evolved and adapted as I went along. I was coaching everywhere in Munster at that stage, getting my grafting and whatever. And Sunday's-Well grew, and then there were other coaches came in and helped out, and they're here now. And I've left, I would say, in good standing. The club is very healthy. There are now 6, maybe 7 full-time coaches here. We would be stuck with the grass courts over the years, problems, the continuity, etc. So, yes, I'm probably the first one, but the club evolves, things change, and I'm happy that it's going the right direction. I must mention my ladies' morning that evolved over the years. My first lesson here with the adults was Minnie McKenna, Judy Daly, Val Dwyer, and who was the fourth? Claire Buckley. They were my first 4. And then on a morning we did 1 hour, and the second hour evolved May Rowan and her gang. And after 6 or 8 weeks they decided, we'll have lunch. So we moved the moving creatures from the balcony outside and the side of the river, and they got a white tablecloth, and that started our ladies' mornings, which have been going non-stop. And it was very important at the time that the women had a platform to just enjoy the club. And I remember some of my friends that I used to play with came to play tennis and realised this happens on a regular basis, and said, where are they?
What year was that? Can you recall?
I have a photograph years ago of them. They paid for UCC choir to sing for me on Valentine's Day, and they walked across the grass courts, which were getting ready for some tournament in high heels and all the rest of it. So they weren't popular, but it goes back to the grass court times. That's how I remember it. But then those girls went on, a lot of them, like Mary Jane, people, they play golf, and that's understandable too because they had time in their hands, and tennis was something that they could go and play for an hour, have a cup of coffee, and it's going on now. The ladies have lunch on Christmas and the New Year at the summer season, and it's a nice way of new members to join in. And if a 4 didn't carry on the club, they could always, I'd leave them join in for the morning, and the club recognise that it's not just coaching, and that's very healthy for the club. That they have their own area and expand, and they're now coming back with daughters, and they're bringing in their grandchildren. But that's a good sign. Things have progressed. It's good.
Yeah, it's a club that caters for all ages, for all standards.
Sure. Yeah. I think they've got it right in that all areas are covered. And I think slowly, like people like Siobhan Reardon doing wheelchair tennis, and people from Cope and other people, I think that's huge. And I think even the way the courts are structured, that they can wheel in people into the courts and play tennis. I remember getting people in schools, and they come along in wheelchairs. And if I didn't have experience, I'd have been lost. I know in one school in Clonakilty, RTE did a half-hour programme of 2 twins, and one poor girl, she couldn't hold the racket. But it just showed how you integrate people into something. And to me, that's something which is coming here. And the club is totally inclusive for that. It's good to see. And there's no one says no, which is good.
Did you have any involvement in the other sports like squash or?
I'm afraid I came to Sunday's-Well to play squash, not to play tennis. Jared Deegan and myself were reasonably good at the time of juniors, and John Joyce organised with the committee that we became associate members for the year to play squash, because the age group, the age profile was very high. And Jared didn't carry on the following year. And I asked to become a full member, which is this year 50 years. It's frightening. But that was the going. It's harder, I think, to go from tennis to squash than it is to go from squash to tennis. Squash was great. It's fitness, whatever. And I played it and I enjoyed it. But I wasn't as interested because I saw the guys playing tennis of a level which brought me on. But I wasn't using them. But it was great. And it was a great experience for me to play on grass courts. I've been started in Douglas on a hard court. So I had the best of both worlds. And signs on, I played doubles with Peter Ahern, Desi Ska, Billy Murphy, Eamon, for something like 30 and odd years. Probably one of the oldest doubles at the time. They're all crocked or gone to heaven. But they were great times. And if people had half the fun that I had playing, and as I say, it evolved from squash. So it's good to see the squash members enjoying the club and being part of it and being involved. We all know each other now. It's not them and us anymore. It's very good, and that's a healthy way that it should be. We've had many visiting teams to Sunday as well, not just to play competition. We've had people to people, an American group who asked to play tennis here. They'd fly in Texas in their helicopters from one part of their ranch to another, and we had dinner for them, and Greg Sullivan was involved in catering for them, and of course he dropped the present they gave him of the water crystal outside in the car park. Anyway, they took us back to Jury's where they were staying and treated us to dinner, and that was the kind of thing that was happening over the years here. We also, when we went for our anniversary to Wimbledon, they came back and played here as well, and they were more than welcome. And Aylmer Barrett was in charge of bringing us back and forward. Of course, the week of Wimbledon is when we went over happily, in the hope of getting tickets. That was Marie Duffy's year as captain, and that was very rewarding. And they invited us over, as they brought a team of people who were involved in Sunday as well over the years to reward them, I suppose, and that's it. And it was good fun as well. Good notch to play in Wimbledon. It was good fun. But we've had many good teams from Dublin, from Belfast, Galway, and it's good to keep contact outside the club and keep that profile up. We've had things like the Mokler Cup, a weekend event, and sometimes these things go through poor times, but they're great for bringing teams in. And people aren't inclined to travel anymore because of the expensive overnight stays and whatever. But you can taper that to suit on a day. It's not all about open weeks. It's not all about the best players coming down from Dublin or England. That's not giving them all the prize money. When, I remember the open week here. Alice Fawcett, myself, not beating a drum, but we found the Division 5 players had no cups when they won the tournament. So the Premier players got something. 1, 2, 3s and 4s got something. The 5th didn't. So I remember Alice bought one cup and I bought another cup so that they'd have a cup. And it's, as I say, it's good to see people come from other clubs to join us. So it's good. We should travel a bit more as well.
Greg, did you play a part in the administration of the club over the years?
Indirectly, nearly always part of the club, because it was part of my life, and I had an interest in the club. More so in later years because I became more in the club full time, as opposed to when it began, you tried to get work, you're self-employed. Then I got a contract for a year and then a second year. And you're financially more solid, whatever. Also, we weren't supposed as coaches to be on committees, even though, because we had an interest financially in our own benefit. There's a word for it, but I've forgotten it. But like, if I was sponsored by Dunlops, which at times, well, I wanted Dunlop tennis balls to be used in the Open Week. So you had a vested interest in points. So you try to be fair, and you try not to be changing every year for the flavour of the month just because someone on the committee changes. So also you got to look after your own sponsors. But what happened with me is that I got involved with the club in that I would advise club the captains and committees, and then they'd have the rest of the meeting. So the whole meeting of a tennis committee wasn't about me. It was about the whole club, and I'd be involved in the administration on that side of it.
Yeah.
And the backup which I got from people like Lisa, it was fantastic over the years. People just forget that you're the front man. You deal with people as they come in and help them start off, and new members especially. They'd say, would you look after people like Anke and Wolfgang and take an interest because they're new members? And I found that interesting and enjoyable. And signs on, we've friends since over the years, and many years, and their families over the years. So yes, administration would be part of it. I think you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, your contribution was always acknowledged.
You don't expect anything for it, but it's rewarding in itself when things happen, and you're involved in setting up squads, and you're involved in it's their club. They want to be happy here, and you want them to be happy, and they want them to go home happy. As a man said one day, it's great to have the wife come home happy. And I thought that was a nice compliment to get. I didn't say any more. I like to welcome new members to the club because they are the future. And whether they're juniors or seniors, the club is set up that they can filter in. They can do ladies' mind, they can do coaching. It's not a bad idea to get a few lessons just to get to know the rules and the etiquette, which is sometimes forgotten. And ask questions, because if you don't, we're here 50 years. If we don't know what's going to happen, have an eye on the finger on the pulse, that's it. Or we might see a standard and say, look, you're out of your depth, or you're not, you're better off with these people. And start off small, but don't stay in your own bubble. The club is bigger than just two people. And get involved, but do it in stages. Get involved in a social event, a charity event. And there's lovely people who we're not forgetting. Fionnuala Quigley and Mary Collins and people, Emma Crowley naturally, that we're not forgetting. And they're the kind of events new members should be part of. Juniors were always out here by 5:30, which isn't a bad thing in one way. It's more comfort for the adults, and they were paying a lot more. Not anymore. The juniors are paying enough money now to be a good part of the club. And we've forgotten somewhere along the line that we used to be able to bring in 8 or 10 good juniors to mix with the adults after 5:30. And maybe that should be an area committees might look at again, to bring the strata in, or the people involved. Because it's very difficult to go out and play at a 50-year-old with an under 18-year-old, and you never played with them before, even though your experience is supposed to be used with the youth of the young people. And that's where a link is missed at the minute, to involve the better juniors with the adults before they go out from the club and play elsewhere.
Yeah, you ran the social tennis on Friday evenings for a number of years as well, which,
it was very good. I enjoy social tennis, and you try to mix it. You get 4 games a night maybe, and 2 of them are good. 2 of them are not so good. And the joy is you give something back, because I try not to stick you with the worst player every night, blah, blah, blah. You all want a good game, but unfortunately, if we didn't play with someone worse than us all the time, nobody gets better or gets involved. And I found it difficult of the last few years, because I'd finish work on a Friday in Garryduff and be on the court here at 10 to 7. It was tough, but I did it and I enjoyed it, and I wouldn't go back and change it. And it was great fun. And it's great to see it kept going. And I hope it doesn't get too competitive. I like to see the adults having competition involved, but don't do too many days that knocks the people out who just want to come up and have a game. Because that's what used to happen where the grass courts were there. You came up and you had a game with people who you didn't know. And the club must mix. And that's what social tennis for me is all about.
Yeah. And looking ahead to the future, what developments would you like to see here?
You know, and I know. I met someone in the Canaries recently who we were talking about the west of Ireland, and I said the bubble got blown down in Castlebar, and he says, "Oh God, I go from Westport over there to play all the time." And I said I saw a fun go page to make money, and I saw Munster Branch and Tennis Ireland, and I saw basketball and other sports putting money in there, Fun Me Go, whatever it is, so that they can put the bubble up. It was the best thing seemingly for the area, and they want to get a new bubble straight away. It's something which we looked at a few times, and it's not a bad idea. It means you can play all year round. You can do more than just squads. You can get people playing tournaments. You can bring in other clubs. It's a shame Munster Branch didn't buy the tennis village and let it out at the clubs, which is the way it should have gone. But they wanted to make their money out of it. The German people that had the investment in, it would have been perfect. But looking back, it's easy. Looking forward, I think we must look beyond having an eyesore for people in Sunday as well, which was one of the problems. I think it'd be a lot safer for them to have lights on down here until 10 o'clock at night than people on the riverbank. So I would think it's better for us. And if we go down full-time floodlights, indoor courts, it has to happen because that's the future.
What about pickleball and paddle?
Perfect. I'm looking at in Spain at paddle tennis, and it's super. It's ideal for people who don't want a big court. It's ideal for reflexes. It's great socially. It's all ages, and it's the rules are gas. You play off the wall, the back wall. It's like great, and it doesn't need a full court to do it. So if you have space, like we have down the back, you put up your court and paddle ball, pickleball. Great. I think it's good for the game. It's good for the coordination. It's good for the sport. It's another 4 people playing tennis in the club. They want to do it. Give it to them. It's the future. As a man said one day, it's great to have the wife come home happy. And I thought that was a nice compliment to get. I didn't say any more. I'm delighted you had an appointment after this. You've got to get it right first time. Oh, lordy.
Things